Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Can I ask, please, that you sit quietly? After all, this is a library. It's supposed to be quiet. People like it to be quiet. They enjoy the calm atmosphere. They like the architecture, but they like listening. Listening to the birds in the trees, listening to the Minster bells. I've been adventuring in this library, looking for hidden treasures. And on my very first day, one of the things that I found was a small book. It's hardback, unassuming. It's in the hailstone wing. So as you came in, the main entrance down there, it's on your left. And you walk straight in, and it's just there. It's pretty much where you walk straight in. There's a whole collection of books about libraries. And I thought this is a good place to start. And in particular, this little book, The Beginnings of Libraries. The author, one Ernest Cushing Richardson, attempts to describe and define a library. He comes up, or he settles, on the principle, as I understand it, that a library is a collection of pretty much anything or any size that is for use and not for sale. This is a library for use. It's a living, breathing collection. Every day there are people in this building working, studying, examining, exploring. Today that's going to be your job. Today I'm going to invite you to explore these collections, to look around you, to look closely, and to notice that nothing stays the same. Look, a sapling nearly trodden underfoot. See, an oak tree, tall in a Yorkshire forest. Witness, a pillar holding up the Minster roof, sheltering worshippers from the worst of the north's weather. Consider fuel for a fire. Peer at a candlestick holder to light your way in the dark. In the Minster, in St John's Chapel, that's the regimental chapel of the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry, there is a ball gown. A fantastical French silk ball gown. It may have danced at parties in pre-revolution France. It's exquisite in its detail of a fairy tale world. There are turreted bridges that arch over sailing boats, palaces that float up on leaves and branches, and there's a lady, a fashionable lady, fishing in a lake. It's hanging behind the altar. Its detail unnoticed, transformed. Witness the skill that transforms a ball gown into an altar hanging. There are guns too, in this chapel, sitting on the altar. 2 candlesticks and a cross, formed from gunmetal, a gift from a soldier, a memorial to the First World War when it was still the Great War, evidence of violence, a reminder of suffering, sitting on the altar in front of the ball gown, in front of those scenes from another place, another time, a space of the impossible. Witness the skill that transforms gunmetal into candlesticks. Look, a piece of silk chosen by an emperor. See, a wedding gift for a queen and her consort. Gaze upon drapes for a royal bedroom. Consider a surprise lot at an auction. Notice an opportunistic sighting by the Dean. Another gift for the Minster. A burse for the sacrament. One of my favourite fellow travellers on my adventures into the archives has been Francis Matthew. Francis gave a gift to the Minster. Francis gave the gift of books to the Minster. Books for reading, books for use, books that together make a library. Some of those books that you can see on the shelves beside you now. There's a monument to Francis in the Minster. I haven't seen it, because while I've been here, it's been behind the scaffolding where they're renovating the east window. Notice how everything changes. Even if I had managed to see it, I wouldn't quite have seen what Frances planned. She probably did plan her own monument quite carefully. But in the 400 years since it was placed there, there has been damage. The inscription, written in English, was scorched off in one of the fires. And an angel was sold in 1844 that may well have come from Frances's monument. Notice how everything changes. Her husband was Archbishop Tobias Matthew, and I have seen his monument. He's lying between Lady Chapel and All Saint Chapel, also at the east end of the Minster. His 17th century effigy rests on a 19th century tomb with 20th century embellishments. Notice how everything changes. Frances lived between 1551 and 1629. But Toby died just before her. He had a library of more than 2,000 books. They had a library of more than 2,000 books. Their son said of his father that he would ever choose to put some fit book into my hand rather than enter into any express discourse. Of his mother, he said, she was wont to be busy with scripture as if it was some glove upon her fingers' ends. As if it was some glove upon her fingers' ends. Their relationship was strained, and Frances left her books to the Minster. There is one single sheet of paper in the Minster collections that was written by Frances Matthew. It wasn't part of her original gift, it was a much later gift to the Minster in the 20th century. I'm allowed to request to see it. And I have to fill in a little slip of paper, hand it to the librarian, but they go away and they'll find it and they'll bring it to me in the reading room. So I do this, but when it arrives, I'm reading something else. I've got this book, and it's another old book, set up on the cushions and the weights, and I'm in the middle of reading this. So Frances's document sits and waits. It's in a brown cardboard folder, and I don't peek. I finish what I'm reading. And when I do read it, when I open that cardboard folder, I don't dare touch the piece of paper. It's so fragile and delicate. But I can see her words. It's a personal document. On the birth of all my children. She describes the details of the births. She describes the details of the births of her 6 children. And she details the deaths of 4 of those children. It's a personal document. It's a piece of paper. It's a manuscript for scholarly study. Her pen marks are sharp, precise, fierce. See a rock hewn from a hillside. Consider a stone ready for sculpting. Notice an icon high up on the Minster. Observe a piece of rubble torn from the wall. Useful for filling a gap. Dean Eric Milner White had an eye for treasure and a knack for acquiring it. It's my personal suspicion that he may, like me, have had quite cold feet. This carpet is one of many of his. This was his treasure. It might be yours, but maybe it won't be. The Minster Silver collection includes a punch ladle, a marrow scoop, an ear trumpet, and a ceremonial trowel. They were the treasure of Mr. William Lee, another treasure hunter. Maybe that's your sort of treasure, but maybe it isn't. Take time, look around you, notice your surroundings. Examine the fearsome cat in the window. Observe the wary dragon. Find the spot where the pipes run warm under the floor. This has been one of my treasures on cold days. I'm going to give you each a map. And I want you to take it and explore. Explore the old palace. Find your own treasure. Draw it, describe it, and quote it. Using a pencil, note down what treasure you see. Don't worry if your treasure is different to everybody else's, but do share it with me. Do come back when you found something. Show me what you found. Tell me the story that excites you. When I asked people what treasure they'd found, they came up with wonderful things and personal things. They came up with stories about manuscripts that have been annotated by generations of scholars, a medieval warehouse that they were researching the history on, books on campanology and medieval cartography, early manuscripts of S.S. Wesley and Atwood, family history documents that you can't find anywhere else. Your treasure is your own. It's what you see and what you find. I want you to go out and I want you to look closely. I want you to explore, but I want you to share it with us as well, and share the treasures that you found. Go into every room that you can. Peer into the display cabinets. If you can, take books from the shelves and read them. Find a story that intrigues you. Make connections. Stop. Listen. Watch. It's your turn to be the adventurer in the archive. It's your turn to go and explore. But I'm going to be here for another half hour, so please come back and share it with me. Thank you very much.